When most people think about California, they think beautiful beaches, palm trees, gorgeous neighborhoods. But the past few years has really taken a toll on this beautiful state. Our homeless population and crime rates are through the roof in all major cities. San Francisco, Los Angeles, and even our beloved San Diego. Many families have taken issue with government overreach in our schools and with our kids. People are feeling their medical freedoms are at risk. Housing prices have shot through the roof. And this has all tainted the California dream for many families who have been here for generations. But I want to introduce you to a community here in San Diego County that may be just the last frontier, where home prices are still below the county average. You're surrounded by beautiful mountains and nature everywhere. The culture is family first. Freedom is respected, and being patriotic isn't frowned upon. And we found it by accident during the pandemic lockdowns. Welcome back to the channel where we help families seeking more freedom trade in city life for more space, ease, and the dreamiest quality of life here in the San Diego suburbs and East County rural. My name is Emily. Let's dive in. As you may know, during the pandemic, California was locked down way longer than the most of the country was. And what that meant was that the schools were closed for up to a year and even longer, and everyone was doing Zooms. And at the time, I had a TK and a first grader, and I was not gonna do that to them. So I made the decision to go full on old school homeschool, and I taught them. And I got dialed into local homeschool groups, and a lot of our meetups were in East County, San Diego. And at the time, we were living closer to the coast. So we were surrounded in an area where everything was really shut down. Businesses were not open. Everyone was masked up. We got lots of comments if we walked anywhere without our masks on. So when we started coming out to East County, I felt relaxed. I found that people were more like-minded like us, that were open to more freedom and independent decision-making during that pandemic era. We discovered beautiful parks and trails and just families that lived out here. And we found out that there were actually businesses that were still open here and restaurants. So one day we packed up the kids and we headed out to Alpine Tavern, which we saw was still open. And when we walked in, we were greeted by a server who wasn't wearing a mask, who handed us real menus, not a QR code. The bar area and the restaurant were full with people, and it just felt like we were in a twilight zone. Like everything was still normal here. And we fell in love instantly. And when we got seated at our booth, I looked at my kids, and they were little, and they were so happy to feel that normal, peaceful energy again. And I'm pretty sure it was at that moment we decided that we were gonna sell our house in Claremont and move to East County, San Diego. And in about 6 months, it's exactly what we did, and we ended up in Alpine. And something else I forgot to mention were the schools were the first to open out here in Alpine, both public and private schools. And when we walked up to the tour that was already in progress with other families getting a tour from the school administrator, no one was wearing a mask, and we're like, oh my God, we found our place. So we joined the group, we walked through the school, the kids were lit up. They couldn't believe how normal everything was still here. And then we heard the bell ring and all the kids got in line to go back to class. No one was wearing masks. They were playing around with each other. There wasn't this 6-foot distance rule in place. And the kids were like, we wanna get enrolled right away. Now, mind you, they had been homeschooled at this point for a year. This was February 2021, which had been almost a year mark now that they had been isolated from normal school group activities, and they were really missing it. I mean, we loved homeschool years, and it was this very special time, but we were hitting our breaking point where we really wanted to integrate with life again. And California looked like it was going to be shut down for another 6 to 9 months, and that's exactly what happened. But we got our kids enrolled right away. We moved to Alpine, and life became normal for us. Before we moved out here, we had no idea that these beautiful neighborhoods even existed. East County tends to have either a stigma of it's either ghetto, redneck, or just run down, and that is furthest from the truth. I'm going to show you 3 different neighborhoods that are very different from each other, so that maybe you can find an area that's a perfect fit for you. All right, the first one on the list is Alpine. Alpine is near and dear to my heart because it's what brought us out here. It is a mountain community with a population of only 14,000, and it has a small town within Alpine. So you have everything you need right there. There's an Albertsons and a Barron's shopping center. So you've got multiple grocery stores. You've got all your businesses to run your errands, your day-to-day errands, but there are no big box stores. There's no Target, Home Depot, whatever your jam is, you're gonna have to go what they call down the hill to El Cajon, which is just 10 minutes west on the 8 freeway. So if you're looking for a small town vibe, a quaint community, but you're not ready to just exit California, you still wanna be close to everything that a major city like San Diego has to offer, Alpine is amazing. The culture is like a small Midwestern town. You feel like you've gone back 25, 30 years when it was a simpler time in life and everything is just slow paced, and I love it. It's not congested, it's easy to run around and do your errands. You have beautiful views of mountains, and some of the homes are on the mountain top, so you have like the most epic views of sunsets and mountain ridges, and you're trading in a skyline or an ocean view for mountain views, but it is just yummy. And the neighborhoods are very diverse in Alpine. You have everything with HOA communities and 3,000 square foot homes on a half-acre lot to more country rural living like in Alpine Heights, where you may find dirt roads and even horse properties. And then there's of course the old ranch and the new ranch, which is homes with a minimum of 2 acre plus lots. The new ranch is the more affluent gated community with beautiful paved roads. It's much more upscale. This is where you're gonna find more high-end luxury homes and even mansions. And then the old ranch, you have a mix of ranch homes, eclectic homes, and also beautiful estates. And both those communities have access to a private lake, which is pretty amazing. But closer to the town, you have newer builds built in the 90s and 2000s that are just your traditional neighborhoods where you're gonna have neighbors close by. You're definitely not on acreage. You're looking at somewhere between 6,000 and 10,000 square foot lot. And those homes start at about 750 to 800,000. And homes in Alpine really range from an average of 800,000 all the way to 5 million. So there is something for everyone. So to recap, Alpine is your community if you were looking for more country living or mountain living, but you still want to be able to get down to the beach in about half an hour. You've got your city right there with all your amenities, and you're okay driving 10, 15 minutes to get to a Target or a Home Depot, or you can just Prime and Instacart everything if you're like me. But Alpine is really charming. It's amazing for families. It's a slower pace of life. And when we first moved there, there was a bumper sticker we saw and it stuck with me, and it said Alpine, ... just far enough. And that sums up Alpine perfectly. Next on the list is Rancho San Diego. Rancho is a suburban community. This is not a rural community. However, it does neighbor rural San Diego and Dehesa. So you have mountains surrounding you and epic views everywhere. But Rancho is a suburban community just 20 minutes east of downtown San Diego. So you're pretty close to city center. I would say it's probably gonna take you 20 to 25 minutes to get to downtown San Diego, maybe 30 minutes to get to the airport and the beaches, just off the 94 freeway. Rancho, what makes it special is it is a planned development community. It's got a lot of different HOA communities in there, lots of open space, but it is the newest community out of all the East County cities. Well, Rancho really started taking off in the 80s. So you have a lot of homes that were built in the 80s and 90s. So although they're not new, they're much newer, and the shopping centers are way newer. So it has that new, fresh, clean feel to it. When you're driving through Rancho, it feels open and spacious and wide and clean. Rancho is probably one of the only communities I can think of in San Diego, especially East County San Diego, as far as cities and the suburbs go, is there isn't a homeless population in Rancho. And I'm not totally sure why that is, but Rancho just feels cleaner and newer. In Rancho San Diego, it's great for families, tons of open space, and real estate prices are pretty good compared to the San Diego average. So you can get a beautiful home starting from $900,000 all the way up to about 1.3, 1.4 for a home that's been fully renovated. And these are in the A communities. There are actually some more affluent gated communities in Rancho San Diego and off the golf course in Steel Canyon. And those homes are going to start at closer to $2 million and go all the way up to anomalies of a $4 or $5 million home. But I would say your average luxury Rancho San Diego home is between 2 and 3 million, and you can get a great family home in just the regular HOA communities. Probably your average home price is going to be about 1.2 million, and that's for like a nice turnkey 2,500 square foot 4-bedroom home. So Rancho is for you if you're not looking to be in the rural areas or country areas, like you still want to be somewhat close to the city and you want to live in a suburb where you have all your shopping, that there is a Target, a movie theater, a huge YMCA, you know, lots of different restaurants to pick from, more convenience, let's say, than somewhere like Alpine, then Rancho is great because, like I said, it's newer, it's fresh. You can get a beautiful home for a much more reasonable price than closer to the city, but you get a lot of bang for your buck. And again, it's very family friendly. So if that's what you're looking for, definitely put Rancho on your list. We are going to close it out with Fletcher Hills. And Fletcher Hills is actually both in La Mesa and sprawls over to the El Cajon side. So there's the La Mesa side and the El Cajon side, and both are nice, but people tend to think that the La Mesa side is nicer, and because it's in La Mesa, the real estate prices sometimes tend to be a little bit higher on the La Mesa side. But overall, Fletcher Hills is a beautiful community. It is the furthest west out of all the communities that we've talked about, which means it's only about 15 minutes off the 8 freeway to the beaches and downtown San Diego Zoo. It's way more centrally located than Alpine and Rancho, which tend to be much further out. So for a San Diego local, when you hear Alpine, you think like, oh my God, it's so far away, and Rancho is so far away, which in reality, it's only 25-30 minutes from city center. But Fletcher Hills is going to be right there neighboring almost central San Diego. So what does that mean? Well, the home prices are a little bit more expensive, but you get beautiful neighborhoods. Again, a lot of HOA communities there. So Fletcher Hills, it's on a hill. So these homes have great views of city lights and mountain views. You're close to hiking trails and nature. So even though you're more centrally located within the county, it's still surrounding all the mountains and hiking trails. So easy access to Lake Murray, Mission Trails, which has over 60 trailheads in Mission Trails, easy hikes with your kids, walk your dog. So you're close to that, but you're also close to tons of shops and restaurants. Because you're so close to La Mesa, downtown La Mesa Village has recently gone through a huge renovation over the past 10 years. So there's a ton of great bars and restaurants. So you have not only the option of your typical chain stores, but you also have more eclectic local businesses nearby. Because you're so centrally located, you can do your shopping in La Mesa or the Santee Trolley Shopping Center. You're closer to the malls like Fashion Valley and the UTC Mall. Fletcher Hills offers you large backyards, larger homes, closer to the city, more conveniences, but you are still in East County, so you still have that sense of community surrounded by nature. And I would say you have a little bit more of that like-minded, freedom-loving families than you would closer to the city. So if you want to learn more about these communities or have questions about the schools and neighborhoods, head to the link below and schedule a 15-minute call with me. I would love to chat with you. With California home prices shooting through the roof, I know it can feel really discouraging when you're ready to start shopping for a home and then you see what $1 million buys you in San Diego. It's depressing, but I want to tell you that you can find a beautiful community here in East County, San Diego for your budget. You just got to go a little bit further east. And that's why I'm making these videos, to show you the possibilities of these East County communities that no one is talking about. And in fact, I did a whole series on East County neighborhoods where I take you through neighborhood tours and talk about the pros and cons of each. So make sure you check out this video and this video. My name is Emily. I'll see you there.